everyone, this is Charna Seifert, and this is my first ever podcast. Welcome. I am joining you today from my office at Transparent Talent Solutions, and I will be your guide as we talk about recruiting and other HR topics. But today is going to be all about recruiting. So I have noticed a trend where managers are really struggling to find the right candidate in the right time period, and they want to always get these positions filled quickly, and they don't know how to do it right, or they have processes that get in the way of doing it right and effectively. So today I'm going to give you some of my own experience and my tips and tricks on how to do this the most effective way. First, let me just say that I am an HR professional with over 30 years of experience. I've worked in all different industries, and I've been a hiring manager. So I feel like I have a pretty good handle on some things that will make the recruiting process even better. So, rule number one, there are no unicorns. Okay, so get that out of your mind. If you are looking for a unicorn, there is no unicorn hunting here. Takes too long to find a unicorn. What is better is to find someone with the right attitude and aptitude. Technical skills, for the most part, not all of them, can be taught along the way. So you have to figure out which are those have to have technical skills and which are those ones that will be nice to have as they learn along the way. But attitude and aptitude can't be taught quickly or easily. So make sure you're hiring the right candidate with the right attitude, because it'll make everything so much easier for you. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the recruiting process. So, first of all, when someone leaves the company or you get approval to fill a position, you need to stop and think. What do I really need? What are the skills this person needs? And what are the competencies they need? And what is it that will help the team be more successful, and how will this person integrate with the culture? Planning ahead of time will make all the difference in the world. So someone leaves the company, don't just jump at recruiting and say, I need to backfill Johnny. Take the time and be like, do I really need to backfill Johnny? Maybe Johnny is at a really high level and you really need two lower level people. A lot of companies will swap out and allow you two heads for the price that you would have paid for replacing Johnny. So that's a consideration. Also, maybe Johnny is a lower level person and you need a slightly higher level person. That may need a little more approval because you're going to need a little more money to pay for the experience you need. So think about exactly what level you need this person at and what skills they need to have. Next, I also want you to think, Johnny was a great employee, Johnny was not a great employee. What did you like or not like about Johnny? Because the things you liked, you probably want to replicate. The things you didn't like, you want to make sure you're interviewing to ensure that you don't get those same skills or those same attitudes or those same behaviors that Johnny exhibited that you did not like. So planning and thinking about what you really need in a candidate is super, super important. Also, where would be the best place to find these candidates? Because recruiting, though very skilled, and I love the department to death, and I don't know what any company would do without them, they're not miracle workers. They do not read minds. So take a little time and think, where could the best candidates for this position come from. Maybe it's college, if you're doing new college hires. Maybe it's the competitor. Maybe it is from a certain association. So think those things through, because you're going to need to have a meeting with the recruiter. And a lot of recruiters have various names for this meeting: jumpstart meeting, a planning meeting. Like, you need to have a meeting with your recruiter. You talk to them about those things I just asked you to think about. What kind of personality you want, what did you like, what didn't you like, what level, all of those things, where to find the person, giving them suggestions, what are key words they're going to need to know. Those are all part of the process that recruiting will walk you through, but it'll go so much smoother if you've thought about it ahead of time instead of thinking about it through interviewing and all of those things. Now, that's not to say you can't change up who you're looking for once you see some resumes. But if you do a little planning ahead of time, it will save you a lot of time on the back end. Now, the other thing in the planning process is you need to know who your interviewing team is. And that is going to be no more than 2 to 3 other people. I say 2 to 3 because one of those people might be your boss. Now, if your boss needs to interview the person too, that would be your third person. The 2 other people are either a teammate and or someone you really trust their judgment on hiring people or interacting with people or anything of those things. Someone that you trust that understands what you're looking for and will help you get there. Then during the recruiting process, I want you to really think of this process as a very structured process. This also will help you do the recruiting in the most effective and efficient way. I have successfully recruited people in 2 to 3 weeks. I have also been party to a hiring scheme in which 3 people get 20 minutes with the candidate, and at the end they make a decision, and within 24 hours offers are being made. So you can do it as fast as a week, but 2 to 3 weeks is sufficient. 45 days or more is ridiculous. Okay. You don't need 100 people interviewing. You don't need a lot of time. You need to plan ahead of time. And when you pick those 2 to 3 people, make sure that they have availability in their schedule to meet the timeline for recruiting that you are setting for yourself. So one of the plans that have worked really well for me, and I've seen work really well for others, is you set a schedule with the recruiter. Let's say Monday, Tuesday, they provide you resumes. By the end of Tuesday, that you are giving them feedback on which resumes you're interested in them doing phone screens. The recruiter will then do their piece, which will be to let the automated system let people know that they didn't make it through the initial screening, and they will be setting up initial screens with those who pass that first gate. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending on people's work schedules, because you're working with outside people, the recruiter will do phone screens, and they will go through the normal things like pay and work location and things like that. But if there is something that you really want to know about a candidate, it will save you time if it's something that the recruiter can ask for you, such as, why do you jump jobs so often? There's generally a good reason for it, but maybe this is something that you really want to know, and this is something the recruiter can ask for you. Maybe there is a break in their work timeline. You can have the recruiter ask about that. I do not think breaks or short work tenures is something to reject a resume about, but if it's something you're concerned about, the recruiter can flesh that out for you before you actually talk to the person. So recruiter does the initial screening Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You have a meeting with them on Monday. They talk to you about the candidates and what they said, and then you down select again to which ones you and your team want to interview with. The recruiter will set that up. The whole prior week, when you were figuring out who was going to be on your interview team, you were also figuring out what availability people had, and you let the recruiter know that so that they can quickly set up those interviews. Ideally, it would be best to have it like all on one day. Like if you have 3 candidates, you block off like anywhere from a half hour to 45 minutes for each of them. You can go as much as an hour, and in one day you yourself could interview 6 people, and your interview team could also interview 6 people. So don't be afraid to block off a whole day to get this done, right? It should not take a lot of time. Like I indicated earlier, I was part of a group that we created this system in which people came in for 20-minute interviews. And after we talked to all the people, we sat down and was like, who wants who? Who is invested in which candidate and why? So that brings me to debriefing meetings. It's important to debrief with your hiring team and the recruiter quickly after you interview the candidate, so you can do a thumbs up or thumbs down. If you do have a manager who needs to approve, this is then when they would be involved, is after you down select to 1 or 2 candidates, and then you have your manager do a final screening and get their input. Some managers will want this, some managers won't want this. Some managers just want to be able to talk to the person before an offer is sent out. Already have in mind the range in which this position will pay. Finance should have already approved that, and that way when you go to make the offer, it is quick and easy to get through the approval process. Recruiting already has all the templates. It's a plug and play. They put in the name, they put in the title, they put in the pay. Like everything else is fairly easy to do. So with that kind of model, you can actually hire someone who you feel comfortable with in a 2 to 3 week period. It does not take a lot of time. Don't second guess yourself. Go with your gut. It's very intuitive. The last thing I really want to talk to you about is the candidate experience. So one, it's important that you or the recruiter are communicating with the candidate on a regular basis. It is also, or more important, that when you pick your interview team, you also decide what you want these people to interview for. Nothing drives candidates more crazy than getting the same group of questions from the same 2 to 3 people. Tell me a little bit about your history, even though you have the resume in front of you. Tell me why you're interested in the job. Like, if one person wants to ask that, fine, but everyone shouldn't be asking the same questions. You should have decided which skills you want each person to interview for, and I strongly encourage you to interview for soft skills versus technical skills. Technical skills would have been weeded out through the resume screening process for the most part. Though if you want one person to test for technical skills, you can do that as well. But really, most managers miss the mark because they don't interview for soft skills. Does this person have good interpersonal communication? Do they work as a team? Are they concerned about quality? How do they react when someone gives them feedback? Those are all things that you should have decided are really important before you talk to the recruiter. And so when you have your interview team, you're like, okay, Jeff, you're going to interview for these three things. Jane, you're going to interview for these three things. And George, I want you to interview for these three things. That is the most effective way to do recruiting that can be quick and is efficient. So that is my little 2 cents today, my short little podcast on how you can improve the recruiting process for yourself and find some really great candidates. If anyone has any questions or want to reach out to me, you can reach me at Charna, CHARNA, at transparenttaleNtsolutions.com. Or you can go to my website, transparenttaleNtsolutions.com. And there is a form you can fill out that will come to me, and I will schedule some time for us to talk. So I hope this was very helpful. If there is other information or other things that you want to know about HR, I'm here. I will do some more podcasts. Put your comments down below on what other information you would like to know about, and I'm happy to do one of these quick vignettes. Hope everyone has a great day, and I hope you learned a little more about HR. Thank you.